If you're going to have a holiday in the Drakensberg Mountains in South Africa, then one of the things you're going to need to decide is how much money you're willing to spend. Hopefully this video is going to help you do that. After spending 2 nights in a luxury hotel in the Drakensberg Mountains and spending 2 nights wilderness camping in the Drakensberg Mountains, I've discovered which one I prefer, and the reasons why were not exactly what I expected. So how much did everything cost? Let's start with the luxury version. I stayed at the Cathedral Peak Hotel in the Cathedral Peak area of the Drakensberg Mountains, and on their spring special, 2 nights for 2 people cost 5,500 Rand. That is just over 375 US dollars at the current exchange rate. That price is inclusive of your 3 main meals, as well as morning and afternoon tea. You also get access to daily guided hikes, as well as the hotel's swimming pool, gym, games room, and a whole host of other activities, so many that I barely actually got to do any of them. There are a few activities that you will have to pay extra for, or that you may have to book in advance. My overall experience of the Cathedral Peak Hotel was absolutely blissful. It was so incredibly relaxing. You did not have to worry about getting food ready or cleaning your own room or whether you would have a warm place to sleep at night. You could just go out and enjoy the day, and although I did not go on any of the guided hikes, I did spend the majority of my time exploring the myriad of amazing day hikes that are offered in the area. Now, I'm not going to lie, my experience at the Cathedral Peak Hotel was so fantastic that it would take something incredible to even be able to compete with it. So let's move on to how much the budget wilderness camping option cost and see how it stacks up. In order to camp in the wilderness of the Drakensberg Mountains, you're required to pay a conservation fee. This is currently 70 Rand per person per night. Of course, this does not include any meals, so you do need to provide those yourself. We splurged and got some quite nice food and ended up spending about 500 Rand for 2 people. So in total, we spent about 840 Rand, which at the current exchange rate is the equivalent of just over 57 US dollars. Of course, in order to do wilderness camping, you do require a whole lot of gear, such as a tent, a sleeping bag, and so on. If you don't already own this, you might be interested in my other series of videos in which I have been trying to find budget-friendly backpacking gear. The gear that I took with me on this particular backpacking trip was in fact that exact backpacking budget gear, and the total cost was just over 160 US dollars. But if you are really on a budget, I would recommend trying to rent or borrow gear rather than buying it outright. If you do want to include the cost of budget backpacking gear in the budget trip cost, then the trip cost is about 220 US dollars. However, keep in mind that that gear can be used over multiple backpacking trips, except perhaps for the pool lilo. The budget trip was very different to the luxury trip. It's physically far more demanding. You have to fend for yourself entirely, you have to carry your own gear. It is much more uncomfortable depending on the weather conditions and your hiking companions and the conditions on the trail. The budget trip did provide 2 things that the luxury trip just could not compete with. The one is the isolation itself. Being in a wilderness area with no one but your hiking companions is something so magical, and it is so rare in our current society. The other thing is the sense of confidence that you gain by being forced to be so self-reliant. You have to cook, clean, and look after yourself medically. There is nobody else there, and being able to do those things really gives you a different perspective on who you are. So which one wins for me? This probably doesn't come as a surprise if you've watched my channel before, but hands down, I would always go for the budget wilderness camping experience. The sense of wonder that you get when you're on your own in the wilderness just cannot be beaten. At the same time, I do just want to mention that if I had the opportunity to go back and stay at the Cathedral Peak Hotel again, I would absolutely do it. I had such a great time there. But if I only had a limited amount of time and a limitless budget, I would still go for the wilderness budget camping experience over the luxury hotel. If you have your own thoughts about luxury trips versus budget trips, then please leave me a comment below. And of course, if you'd like to see more videos like this one, then consider subscribing to my YouTube channel.